You might be watching a football game and you always hear 11 personnel, 12 personnel, 21 personnel, 22 personnel, and you might be thinking, what does that mean? Well, in order to understand what offensive personnel means and the terminology for it, you first have to understand what a legal formation is and what makes receivers eligible. You also hear illegal formation penalties and ineligible receivers downfield. So let's dive deep into it, starting with legal formations. So defensively, all 11 players can line up wherever they want, however they want, and they can be running all over the place as long as they don't cross the line of scrimmage. The defense is fine. Offensively, however, there are clear-cut rules as to what is legal prior to the snap. An offense could line up with all 11 players on the line of scrimmage. This is technically a legal formation, but there's obviously a huge glaring issue with that. There would be no one there to receive the snap. So the offense has to have at least one person off the line of scrimmage in the backfield in order to receive the snap. So that's 10 players on the line of scrimmage at least. This still is a legal formation. But the thing about being on the line of scrimmage is that you can't motion. So offenses want to have guys align off the line of scrimmage, not just to be in the backfield to receive a handoff or whatnot, but also to make them eligible to motion and potentially go downfield for a pass, which we'll get into in a second. So the rule is that the offense must have at least 7 players on the line of scrimmage. So with a total of 11 players, that means you cannot have more than 4 players off the line of scrimmage. So this is a legal formation. 4 players off the line of scrimmage and 7 players on. When a 5th player lines up off the line of scrimmage, the second that the ball is snapped, there will be a flag for illegal formation, 5 men in the backfield. So an offense can have anywhere from 7 to 10 players on the line of scrimmage if they want to. But again, 99% of the time, they will have just 7 in order to have as many players off the line as possible, eligible to motion and eligible to go downfield for a pass. And all motions have to be going sideways or backwards at the point of the snap. So a player can motion forward as long as the ball is not snapped while he's going forward, and then he must be going sideways or backwards during his motion at the time of the snap. And you might be thinking, well, how often do illegal formations really happen? Well, they do happen, and sometimes they happen at very costly times. Take you back to the Texas-Alabama, 2010 national championship. Texas, opening drive, gets down to the 1-yard line, runs a quarterback sneak, scores a touchdown, but there's one problem. Count the guys off the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the quarterback is 5. So they got flagged. They go 5 yards back. They end up not scoring a touchdown, settling for 3 points. And then that comes back to bite them at the end. Had they had 4 more points, they would have had an opportunity to win the game on their last drive. Now we're going to get into what makes a player eligible to go downfield on a pass beyond the line of scrimmage. Anyone, lineman included, can go downfield when a pass is caught behind the line of scrimmage. That's a screen. But any pass where the ball is thrown past the line of scrimmage, only certain players are allowed to go past the line of scrimmage prior to the ball being thrown on that play. A player must meet 2 criteria to go downfield on a pass. First, he must be aligned in an eligible position. He has to be off the line of scrimmage, or he has to be the last man on the line of scrimmage to either side, to the left or to the right. The second set of criteria is that he must wear an eligible jersey number 0 through 49 or 80 through 99. And if he's wearing anything from 50 to 79, then he's ineligible in college or in high school. But in the NFL, if a player is wearing an ineligible number, then he has to report eligible to the officials if he is going to align in an eligible position, meaning he's the last guy on the line or he's potentially off the line. So in college and high school, the only thing you could do is put an eligible jersey number on him. So there is no circumstance where a player wearing an ineligible number in college or high school is allowed to go downfield on a pass. Those players who are ineligible to go downfield on a pass are usually your 5 offensive linemen in 99% of formations. And that takes us to personnel. Offensive personnel is who are the 11 offensive players on the field. Offensively, 99% of the time, like we said, there are 5 offensive linemen and a quarterback. Okay, so we know who 6 of the players are. The question now is who are the other 5 offensive players? This is communicated by a 2-digit number like 10, 11, 12, 20, 21. And that number gives us 3 pieces of information. The first digit tells us the amount of backs in the game, running backs, fullbacks. Okay, the second digit tells us the number of tight ends in the game. And the only other position group left is receivers. So that's the third unspoken piece of information in that 2-digit personnel number. The 3 numbers, backs, tight ends, and receivers, must add to 5 because that's how many skill position players are interchangeable outside of the offensive lineman and the quarterback. So when we communicate 11 personnel, for example, in order to figure out how many receivers are on the field, you just add the 2 digits that are given. So in 11, it would be 1 back, 1 tight end, 1 plus 1 is 2, so that leaves us with 3 receivers on the field. All offensive personnel has a universal language that is recognized by every single football building in America. You could go to some high school in Montana, or you could go to the Atlanta Falcons building, and this language is going to be recognized in either or. And that's very rare in football. One of the biggest problems in football from a learning standpoint is there really is not a universal language. There's a lot of common language, and most of it is specific dialect to that program. But the good thing about offensive personnel is it is universally recognized by every football building in America. So this picture right here, you have 1 back, 1 tight end, 3 receivers. Okay, the letters for some teams might be a little different, but we're going to call the running back an R. The tight end is universally a Y. And then the 2 primary receivers are the X and Z. And then that slot adjuster can be an H, he can be an F, he can be an S for slot. It varies by team. But what you're looking at right here is universally 11 personnel. This picture here, you have 1 back, 2 tight ends, and 2 receivers. So we're looking at 12 personnel, 1 back, 2 tight ends. This picture here, you have 2 backs, 1 tight end, and 2 receivers. So what we're looking at is 21 personnel. And then this last example, you have 2 backs, 2 tight ends, 1 receiver, for a total of 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends. And that's all for the offensive personnel video. You can check out the defensive personnel video here. And don't forget to like and subscribe.